Hi guys, and welcome to my channel ShutterBug Infinity. Today we've travelled to Donaghmore Workhouse and Family Museum. Please do like, share and subscribe so you don't miss a future upload. And now we'll have the tour guide Michael Cray.
This is Donaghmore Workhouse and Famine Museum. It's a post-famine workhouse in that it was commissioned in 1850 and completed in 1853 at the cost of about £5,000. There were about 125 workhouses built in the early part of the famine of 1846, the beginning of 1847, and by 1850 they discovered they needed more workhouses. So this is one of the later ones to be built. And the workhouses were paid for by the landlord's taxes. So the landlords wanted to make these places as uninviting as possible, because the more people came in here, the more of their money was going to be used for the upkeep. So the first thing people had to do was give up their holding, if they had a bit of a holding, in order to avail of the services of this place, such as they were. So most of the workhouses in Ireland are on the same shape or the same design, and they were all designed by an English architect called George Wilkinson. So when people come into the workhouse, they were first of all checked out by the doctor here. There was a building here, the admissions building, which has since been removed because in latter years, from 1927 on, this place was turned into a dairy co-op, Donaghmore Creamery, from which sprung the famous Glanbia brand started here. But so they removed this building in order for bigger traffic to be able to get in and out. But during the famine, there was an admissions building here, and the paupers were all assessed by the doctor. They were then split up by age and sex, so the young girls were put in this block here, and children under 2 were left with their mothers and put in this block here. The young boys were in this block, and the men were in this block, and there would have been a dividing wall here back in the day, which would have divided the girls from the women and the boys from the men. Excuse me. And then in the centre we had a dining hall, which would have divided them again. So they didn't meet even at meal times, they were all fed separately. There are 4 different doors on the dining hall, so the boys would have been brought in through one door, fed, taken back out, then the men, so on and so forth, boys and girls. So they never even met each other at meal times. And the windows in the dining hall, if you want to bring your camera around there, the windows in the dining hall would have been the same height as those windows. So when the children were in the dining hall, they still couldn't see their parents or their loved ones on the other side, so because the windows were too high. So, and that's the same reason the windows, these are the windows facing the public view, if you like. So they were that height as well, so that the people couldn't see out and the children couldn't, or the public couldn't see in, I should say. So on the end of at the back then we have the infirmary. Now the infirmary, I'm not a great artist, I'm not a draftsman either, so this is a bit out of proportion. It's not as big as it looks there, but it was still a big building, it's slightly smaller than I've drawn it there. This would have been the infirmary, and the hygiene was very poor here because there were no toilets, no sewage system. The paupers, as we called them at the time, would have been at close quarters with each other, so many of them got sick from each other, and many of them would have died in here. And on the end of the infirmary there's a morgue, and then the unfortunate inevitable journey for many of them was out to the mass grave at the back. So that's a bit of an overview of it as it stands. The only difference between it, many people would compare it to a concentration camp or a jail. The only difference was that you could leave if you wished. You weren't confined to stay here like you would be in a prison. But if a member of the family wanted to leave, if say the head of the household wanted to leave, thinking he could get some work, which was unlikely, but if he did, he had to take the whole family with him back out on the road. So they lost their holding. He was out on the road with his family with him, nowhere to stay, nowhere to live. So, you know, they were damned if they did stay in here, and they were damned if they left. So there wasn't much hope either way.
Could they come back then at all after leaving once?
We don't have that kind of detail, unfortunately. The problems with some of the records here, as in a lot of other workhouses and other places of history, is that in this case, the records were taken from here when the place closed in 1886 to Dublin to the Customs House, and the forecourts were safekeeping supposedly, and then those buildings were burnt during the War of Independence, during the rising in Dublin. And so a lot of the records were lost. So the register of the people who passed through here would have be gone, which is a pity. Now some of the records survived. The minutes of the meetings that were held here by the Board of Governors survived, and they're in the library here in Portlaoise, and they're actually up online now, and anybody can view them. I can't tell you the website offhand, but they're there to be viewed online. But they're the minutes, but they don't give a full picture of the register of the people who passed through here. So that's it. I'm a tour guide here in the Workhouse in Donaghmore in County Laois, and I have written and produced a few pageants based on the story of the famine in the workhouse here. And as part of my scripts, I wrote some poetry relevant to the story of this place. And there's one story about a woman who came to the gates of the workhouse with her child seeking refuge, and they were refused admission because they were told the place was full, and they both died at the gate. And this is my poem. It's called These Wailing Walls, and a young local artist did a painting depicting my poem. So I'll recite that poem for you now. Sadness seeps from every wall, horror howls in every hall. A child with only days to live, her mother nothing left to give, brought her to this place in hope, no longer life in her to cope. In here is bad, yet outside worse, eating grass too weak to curse the men who brought them down to this. The mother turns and tries to kiss some life into her starving child, as out the back the corpse is piled, the smell of death on every tree, no life, just weeping effigies, stare about and wonder why the God they loved has passed them by. As child and mother breathe their last, ghosts come howling from the past. No man should have to die this way. Thank God that I was here today to heed these wailing walls. Sinead? So all this stuff was donated by different people. That's a butter churn, believe it or not. It's a giant butter churn. This would have been used in the co-op days. They were taking in about 400,000 gallons of milk a year, and this would have been a butter churn, an industrial sized butter churn. That's a potato digger. That's called a turf slide, for bringing the turf out off the bog in the old days. The rollers on it to keep it from sinking in the bog. That's a potato sprayer. Oh, I'm not going too fast. That's a pierced corn sower from Wexford. That's a reaper and binder, which was before the combine harvester, for making sheaves of corn. That's a corn sower, which was being pulled by possibly a steam engine. And two men would walk here like this, steering one on either side. To steer as they walked along. No need to go to the gym those times. And these are two mowers, which we used for mowing, finger bar mowers they're called. So all this stuff was donated graciously by local farmers and householders. And this is more stuff. That's the old fireplace, the crane, the fireplace, the cooking pot, the skillet pots, an old fire extinguisher, believe it or not. Different utensils, a Singer sewing machine. This machine was specifically for darning socks, believe it or not. That's a knife sharpener and cleaner. Now they would have been in the big houses. The ordinary Joe wouldn't have had one of those. That would have been a very high-end piece of equipment to have in your house. So they're mostly in the landlord's houses. And then over here we have what was called a settle bed, or a press bed, long before IKEA came up with the idea. We had one of those in most of the houses.
So is there longer?
Usually used by a labouring man who might be staying a night, who got some work on the farm. And the Americans call it a Murphy bed. Murphy bed, the name Murphy for some, I suppose, just an Irish name. So they call it a Murphy bed. That's the old Belfast sink. And the washboard for washing the clothes back in the day. That's clothes mangle for wringing out the
Dry
water
out.
out of your clothes.
Yeah.
So
Then-
now I'll take you over
Thanks.
and show you for 43 years. And he arrives back trying to get back into his wife's good books, and he's trying to explain why he went. And it's a comedy, but it's a comedy with a touch of sadness.
Yeah.
So that's the set.
Thanks very much to Michael Cray, the tour guide here who showed me around, and that was the set for the real Mackay. So now we'll take a look in here and have more information.
Welcome to Donaghmore Workhouse. Here you can discover the story behind the Great Famine that devastated Ireland in the middle of the 19th century. The blight epidemic of 1845 to 1847 was the cause of lesser severity over the previous century to support their families and had become 45. More than 1/3 of all agricultural land in Ireland, the unproductive uplands of County Laois, where the influential land agent William Stewart Trench took a lease on land, particularly in Europe in the early 1840s. Ireland's damp, mild climate provided the perfect conditions for the disease. The scene was set for one of the most devastating catastrophes in world history.
Potatoes. The party of us were driving to a 7 o'clock dinner. As we passed a remarkably fine field, as we returned home in the dark, a dreadful
Option for the impoverished.
When the famine struck and the police got injured, they weren't able to work. That meant that they were kicked out. And
It was a very regimented system. Everything was kept and that what they were given in return.
you come in with your family into the community until the following morning when the door
I hope that you guys have enjoyed watching and learning about the history of Ireland and Donaghmore Museum. Have you been here before yourself? I'd love to hear in the comment section what you thought about this video. Please do like and share and subscribe. I appreciate you watching. I hope you have a great day. Do take care, and I hope to see you in the next one.